of you. I think we're running late, so I'll try to quickly cover. 10 minutes is too less a time to cover the public sector or government at large, but we'll try to justify whatever time I have. Let me at the outset, thanks Mr. Jeet, Tanya, Shivani and all the team having me here. Now, since we'll be discussing the public sector at large today, some of the data points before we move forward, I thought I'll definitely bring in. And the first data point tells us that India is heading towards $1 trillion digital economy by 2025-26. The third largest economy with a GDP of over 5 trillion by 2027-28. Largest recipient of FDI, if you see, we as a country almost $919 billion of FDI, we could have it, and that to 65% somewhere during last 8-9 years. Now, how is that, if you ask me, things are getting feasible, visible, India at large also, if I see globally too, how is that we are able to attract such kind of a investment, such kind of a impact we are doing for the transformations we are doing, right? Any of these transformations I can name, whether it is UPI, whether it is GST, whether it is Aadhaar. And these transformations are not only kind of giving an example for the country, not only the idea of the public sector and government is to how do we transform ourselves. And when I say transform ourselves, the first idea comes to our mind is how do you bridge those gaps? Gaps of, let's say, literacy, gaps of geographical conditions, gaps of economical barriers, economical conditions, gaps of rural and urban. And all of these major initiatives what government has taken up, whether it is kind of a changing at the grassroots level, bringing a something I call a digital democratization process across the masses, or kind of a which we say technology enabled development. Any of these things, if you ask me, and any of these mother platforms which we are creating, whether it is Aadhaar, whether it is UPI, whether it is GST, Passport Seva program, I think that is the kind of impact we are able to give across all of you. And the other very important factor for all of us when we look into the public sectors is the most important factor is we cannot differentiate. I cannot differentiate between urban and rural. I cannot differentiate between, let's say, geography and demography. And today, I can cite plethora of example. For an example, today, if you are applying for a passport services, either you apply from Delhi, Mumbai, Chennai, anywhere from any urban city, or let's assume that a poor farmer or a laborer applying from any remote corner of any part of the country, believe me, I do not make any difference. And that's not I am saying, that's the citizens are saying. And how was it possible, right? How was it possible? Because of these kind of transformation, technology enablement, process reengineering, engaging with the industry, very important, right? Whatever business model we are driving today, it's a purely kind of a win-win scenario which we have developed with the industry at large. Now, this is one of the, I think, slide which typically I mention this slide whenever I speak, saying that whenever we are looking for large transformations or kind of a bigger impact within the public sector or within the government organizations, and that is where the core issue is how do you bring in all the stakeholders together. I am saying when all the stakeholders, it is not only within the government or within the public sector, but also your technology partner, industry partner, citizen at large, and the kind of, as I said, the kind of delivery you are looking, the kind of solutions we are looking, the kind of service impact we are looking. And if you see all the middle tiers, right, this is where I think we talk about the transformation is all about. If you are able to achieve those middle tiers, I think 80–90% of your job is done. And while you are transforming or trying to achieve those middle tiers, I think the right side, those 5 Ws plays a very big role. And this is my own experience suggests that unless I understand those 5 Ws, how do I engage industry? How do you deal with data? How do you deal with that solution? How do you drive that change which you are otherwise looking? How do you bring in that kind of empowerment or inclusiveness which you are looking? Nothing is possible unless you understand those 5 Ws. And if you understand those 5 Ws, today it's a data-driven world, right? Today it is a data-driven kind of a decision and enablement. Today it's a data-driven that kind of a empowerment or inclusiveness I am looking for. And if I am doing that, I also must understand those 5 V's, right? Where is it coming from? How is it coming from? What is the value it is carrying? What is the veracity and noise it is carrying, right? I must understand those 5 V's. And if I am able to gel in together the middle tier, the 5 W's and 5 V's, ultimately I am moving towards achieving a goal that I call 4S. And these 4S are nothing but your speed, scale, security, and sustainability. The problem we start within the government or the public sector is we forget about the sustainability angle. How do you sustain over a time? How do you create that kind of a business model which is win-win for every one of us, right? And that is why, as I said, if you understand this holistically, believe me, whether it is government, private, doesn't matter. You can enable that kind of a ecosystem which is all time to come, which is the kind of impact and the kind of, service delivery at across the geography or across the country you can achieve. And at the end, the kind of data security and privacy concerns you are trying to address, you can achieve that, right? This is again the same thing, I'll skip that. This slide I must take 1 minute, 1.5 minutes, saying that when we are kind of enabling these kind of a big transformation within the public sector or government sector, we were always in a kind of a problem saying that how do you create that sustainable business model? And believe me now, every large transformation within the government sector, we are following more or less this kind of a business model. I am not saying anyway that this is the only model, but this is one of the model which is very successfully working. Now, the beauty of this model is if you see that upper 4 rows, we have engaged industry. We have taken maximum advantage of the skills, knowledge, resources available with the industry, right? And the lower 3 rows, right from day one, owning, regulating, and management control remains within the government. So imagine a scenario where you can create that kind of a facilities, amenities, that kind of a manpower resources you can have, that kind of a financial resources you can have, and it's a win-win scenario for both of us, wherein the sovereign functions, sovereign decisions is taken care of by the government. However, the non-sovereign functions, non-criticality is outsourced with the private parties, right? And this is what it gives. If you discover this kind of a business model, you get all of these. And at the end of the day, what is that you or I am looking for? I'm looking for that kind of a service excellence or that kind of enablement, empowerment, inclusiveness, whatever I name it. And you get all of these. Now, this is another one of my favorite slide because today now we are at an era where we are talking about emerging technology, lot of advanced technology, whether I talk about cloud, whether I talk about artificial intelligence, whether I talk about blockchain, whether I talk about kind of a RPA and other kind of a AI, VI kind of a solutions. the only way moving forward is, I think, once you understand the end-to-end kind of a understanding of your complete transformation we are looking for, or the process reengineering looking for, then only probably you can go into this kind of leveraging the emerging solutions and emerging technology, where it involves this kind of, whether it is AI, ML, cloud, big data, and what. But the crux is, when you are leveraging this, you must not forget the data governance principle, right? And this data governance principle will lead you towards the rules of engagement, which I call rules of engagement, which is nothing but your regulations, compliances, and law of the land, right? One slide, I'll not going ahead here, but when we are leveraging AI at the maximum today, I think some of the principle of AI which I could capture, we also must not forget. This is my last slide, saying that when we are leveraging technology, when we are empowering people, when we are making them inclusive, making that part of a connected development, connected society, I think if you are looking this kind, and this slide I have captured from my Passport Seva program, and if you are looking this kind of a benchmark to achieve in the citizen service delivery space, or I'll say in terms of dealing with masses at large, those slides which I spoke about, those kind of a holistic visibility, those kind of a holistic understanding is must. And when we are building this kind of a ecosystem for masses at large, for citizen at large, two important factors we must not forget. It's all about the data I am handling, the resources I am handling. It's all about your and mine data. And if I am doing that, how judiciously, how holistically do I understand that data, when one side there is a principal owner of the data, other side I am the fiduciary of the data, and in between there is something called applications, right? So if I am understanding this entire, if I say, end-to-end life cycle of building a solutions, devising a kind of a end-to-end transformations, engaging a industry, creating a business model, everything it looks possible, which probably I am doing, we all of us together can do. Thank you. Thank you very much.